side by side into the gooseneck. That's a move that rarely pays off. Got it done, and Tim Leonard's got it done as well.
Well, bags are packed. Just got back yesterday from the motorist, filming a podcast with Drive Life. But yeah, Cadwell Park, a lot of prep on the sim. It's probably one of the circuits where the sim has the least correlation to the real track, just because of the amount of undulation and elevation changes and the shapes of different corners. But it's still really, really good to practice. And we had a really, really productive track day on Cadwell 2 weeks ago. We're all ready, we're all set, we're in the car. This weekend is set to potentially be the first one where we might encounter a bit of rain. So that could be really cool, especially for Cadwell Park. We will be at the track setting things up, so I will see you guys there. But before we can set the awning up, we have to go and fill up the barrels of water that we tie it down to, which means I have to trust Zane driving the team buggy. Right, Zane, give us a tutorial. Let's go.
Switch it on.
Switch it on.
Just like that.
There you go. I don't trust you already.
You killed it. Chill.
And after filling up the barrels and finding the safety car spawn point, found where they keep the course cars, haven't we, Zane?
Yeah, we have.
We were able to build the awning. But about an hour later, our job of tying the awning to absolutely anything solid and heavy proved really important as the wind began to pick up. Well, that kind of just changed out of nowhere. It's ridiculously windy now where it was about half an hour ago. At the awning, luckily, we were in just in time to make sure it was all strapped down. Strapped one side to the truck, the other side to a sign that's concrete into the ground. All along, strapped to all of the barrels that we just filled up. There was a few times where it even the huge awning with everything on it, it wanted to come off the ground. But luckily, it stayed down, we're all good. And it was just gusts. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we're okay now. We're finally back in the car. This is great. Oh, I've got something cool to show you. Look, I've got a new display now. So, I don't know what that does, but that is going to show me all my delta and what have you, I think. So with the awning secured and our new technological advancements discovered, and also a short track walk, it was time to go to bed ahead of Friday practice on Friday. Right, I'm awake. It's Friday morning, I think. I'm still in my pyjamas, it's just really cold. I'm gonna go and get ready, and then I'll see you at the track. So here we go then, out of the pit lane for the first session of testing. First impressions of Cadwell Park straight away. Through the mountain section, you get hit with the incredible amounts of elevation. It almost feels hard to breathe as you go over the crest. And you have to carry an incredible amount of momentum into it as it scrubs off so much speed. And the incredibly challenging blind corners through the first sector, which take every inch of trust in the car. So we spent the first part of session 1 getting back to grips with this incredible circuit after our incredibly productive test day 2 weeks ago. When just 10 minutes in, the red flag was called. But as I pulled into the pit lane, I realised our weekend could have been over before it even started, and the red flag was the only thing that saved it. You can see even before I stop, a good amount of steam starts coming out of my engine bay. A leak in my engine meant that it was reaching a ridiculous temperature, and unlike last time at Donington, I actually made it out on the circuit. So even just 1 or 2 more laps could have been very costly. Thanks to my incredible mechanics, the repair was ridiculously quick, and I was able to get back on track as the session was resuming, meaning I lost absolutely no track time. So that's our first session done. We're going out there again for session 2. Hopefully no more engine problems as well. We came very close to another Year 3 DT Volcano in my front bumper. But we fixed it, we patched it off for this weekend, and we know what the issue is now, so come Croft, won't be a problem. So yeah, I will see you out there for session 2. Session 2 was fairly uneventful, with a solid 20 minutes of constant improvement. Despite yesterday's conditions, the entirety of Friday looked to be dry, which is great for learning the circuit for the first time, but it also means that if it rains on the weekend, we're going to be learning on the fly. Session 3 was another solid session, bedding in some brakes at the start and then beginning to push a little bit harder. The more we progressed through the day and began pushing the car even harder, the more breathtaking the final sector of corners got, with the incredible chicane. It's a crazy feeling, absolutely absolutely sending it through here, especially if you get a bit unstable on the first one. In fact, it's one of the only sections of corners that actually looks fast on camera. There we go, testing 3 finished. We've got one more session of testing now until the end of the day. Starting to really come on well. I was bedding the brakes in on that session, and then session 4 we're scrubbing some tyres in on the front, and then it's all go. That's going to be really good, and we've got paid practice in the morning, so I'll see you on track again. So we spent the first 2 or 3 laps making sure the tyres got a good cycle in them, and as soon as we felt that they were ready, we began pushing. And wow, was this session constructive. Once again, it felt like all of the pieces of Friday just came together, and we were truly ready for this Cadwell weekend. Yeah, what a test session. That was really good. My problem now has very quickly turned from how can I turn this around to how can I preserve exactly what I've just done, because that was a really good session. I'm so pleased with that, and what a great way to end the day. And I just need to come back with the same mindset. I'll give it a go, but yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Right, it's now Saturday morning. I found myself a more comfortable chair. We are about to go out for practice. Well, I say we're about to go out. It's like another hour. But we will be going out for paid practice. And then after that is qualifying. And then after that is the first race. But we'll get through practice first. And then we'll see where it takes us. Because we might have a few mixed conditions today. I don't know where that's going. It might be wet for practice. It might be dry. It might be wet for quali. It might be dry. You know, it might be down for the race. We don't know. But something like that's going to happen. That would be very cool to drive in some changeable conditions, especially here. But whatever happens, I'll see you on the track for practice. Paid practice was yet another constructive session. It's really great having these in the morning to work as a dry run for qualifying. And speaking of which, it was time to set the grid. So out of the pit lane then, we're going to take the first lap and a half to do some weaving, get some heat into the tyres. You might notice it looks quite damp offline, and that's because there was an absolute downpour in between practice and qualifying. Luckily, we had the touring cars there to clear it up, and by the end of their race, it looked basically dry. But the potential of a damp circuit meant that we took the first few laps fairly easy. But once we had everything up to temperature, it was go, and we put in another substantial step up on testing, with some very good lap times despite not having a tow. However, a handful of my fastest laps ended up getting deleted, and the cautious approach at the start of the session meant that I was starting pretty out of position, with P10 for race 1, P8 for race 2, and P9 for race 3. So we had work to do on the start. So here we go then, it's now time to get in the car for race 1, but we were long overdue a good Ian Waterhouse interview. So here you guys go, if you want to watch the whole thing, it's on the Saturday Bark live stream at this time code.
All I can say is that is quackers. So Tim Leonard's clearly got all his ducks in a row ready for this race in the number 29 car.
But with the interview over, it was time to get in the car. One of the things I learned from Donington was just how much the warm-up lap matters. Every single degree more you get in your tyres is a little bit more grip you're going to have for the start. And coming back from P10, you're going to need as much as possible. But eventually, we formed up on the grid.
For the first of 3 races this weekend for the Junior Saloon Car Championship. Red lights will come on and we will be racing. Time for the young guns to go for it here at Cadwell Park. We're underway.
And it's not the best of starts. We bogged down a little bit there off the line. The first few corners aren't exactly huge braking zones, so we're going to have to push as hard as we can and hope that the field bunches up. And we get our opportunity as Ben has a pretty big slide through Gooseneck. We've finally been able to catch back up to the pack here. Are we going to have a chance into Mansfield? No, not quite. But we are going to follow him through the forest section and see if we can force a move. But for added complication, we've now got William Omar to think about in our rear view mirror. So if we want to push forward in these first few laps, we have to do it quickly. But the opportunity is getting closer as Ben overtakes our teammate Zayn and loses even more time out of the last corner, getting me even closer to the back of my teammate. Can I have a look into Charlie 2? No, not quite. But I do get a decent run out of the corner and slipstream him all the way down the straight. We're going to look to the inside, down towards turn 4. Zayn has that completely covered off. We'll look back to the outside. Can we get a switchback? back done. We don't quite brake late enough. Can we have a look down into the gooseneck? Also no. But we've stayed firmly on him through this second lap, back again into the slipstream of my teammates, and we're going to look to the inside. We're not close enough for a move, but just piling that pressure on, and it seems to work because we get a much better run out of turn 4. Can we slipstream him again through this absolute gyroscope of a corner, down the inside into gooseneck? Are we able to have a look? Are we able to get the nose in? No, not quite. It's going to have to be back into his slipstream for the rest of this lap. But just a lap later, we are right back in the same place. We're going to maximise the exit out of turn 4. We've got the run now. We've got the space. We're going to inch it down the inside as we pull up to 4th. Can we make the move stick through gooseneck? Yes, we can. We brake later than Zane, and we've sent it through. Now we're going to have to cover the move off into Mansfield, over into the middle of the circuit, braking late into 2nd, get it tipped in, try cover off that switchback as well, and that is the place. So that's up to P9, but we are going to spend those next few laps catching up to Ben Ward, and that is what we're telling Zane now, to catch up to the back of that red and blue Saxo. We are absolutely flying trying to catch up to Ben Ward here, sending it through these first few corners. We're going to try Charlie 2 as much on the throttle as we can, but we wash wide a little bit. We touch the curb, and it's a huge save, very, very nearly straight into that inside wall, but we have lost just about a 10th. That was an incredible save of what could have definitely been a very, very big crash, and straight back to catching up Ben Ward. So then 2 laps later, in Ben Ward's wheel tracks, he has a huge lock-up into the tightest corner on the circuit, runs wide. We're going to pick it up to 3rd before the last corner, but whilst trying to pick the power back up, he's had a mechanical failure out of the last corner. We've just nudged into the back of him there. We didn't exactly expect that to happen, but that is another place, and now up into P8. We are still feeling the effects of that bad start, as it's a huge gap to the cars in front, but I'm putting in some of my best laps of the weekend to try and work that down. Unfortunately, by the end of the race, we weren't able to catch up. So P10 to P8 then, we worked extremely hard in that race to try and claw back from the start and come back effectively unscathed from some very hairy moments. So with the first race of Cadwell Park in the bag, it was time for Sunday, and this time we'd be starting where we finished. What's up, guys? You thought I was going to be at the track, and I'm not. I'm in the Airbnb, but at the circuit they have these little honey bears, whatever they are, and they're really, really dry, and I spent that entire time I was eating them, I was thinking this would make really good cereal, so I'm going to be doing a food review. So here we go. Bears. I'm trying to pour the milk so you guys can see it. There we go. Oh, I actually shouldn't do that, should I? Bears in the milk. Okay. Take a test. Here we go. Falls apart very quickly. Oh, it's like mushy. Oh, you leave that for more than 20 seconds, it's liquid. So the bears on land, I'm going solid 4 out of 10. They're a bit dry. In milk, I can't lie. I wanted to say really well. It had great potential, but it's just not really there. It's not got that. It gives you real appreciation for the cereal game if you think about it. Because think about how they manufacture the cereals. They're actually thinking about this. They're not just making biscuits and then you pour milk on it and then it's good. Right? Because that's what that is. It's a decent biscuit, but it's dehydrated. You pour milk on it, you think it's going to be good, and it's mushy. And it makes you realise these cereal companies, they're locked in. Like, they are not slouching if you really deep it. Oh my days, Frosties. Don't even get me started on Frosties. Oh, I love Frosties, man. They're so advanced in the cereal game. If you think about this kind of stuff, they are so on it because they have some kind of, it's probably chemicals, let's be honest, a chemical formula to make it not just dissolve in milk, because that's what that does. Right, thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one. So after that exhilarating piece of content, it was time to get back in the car for race 2 on Sunday, and this race was not at all short of action. So on to the warm-up lap then, weaving once again to get the heat in the tyres, get the heat in the brakes. And remember, this time we are starting P8, so 2 places up on where we were yesterday, and definitely an opportunity to fight forwards even more. And as we formed up on the grid, it was time to see what we could do on the start. So the revs rise, it's eyes on the lights, they come up now, and they go out, the handbrake goes down, but we bog a little bit on the start. We not got the best run. You can see the people in front pulling away slightly. Leon Holly now coming up behind us in our mirror. We're going to cut over to the right, but it's a little bit late. We almost go over his nose into the pit wall there, so we have to go side by side down through the first corner, and unfortunately he's now got the inside line for the next 3 corners. We have to concede that position down to third through Charlie 2. Can we try and tack onto the back of him and use that draft to carve through that pack in front? But we are going to have to worry now about Ben Ward behind. He's closer to us than we are to Leon. He's going to try a little dive into turn 4. We're forced to go defensive. He outbrakes himself, but we're now side by side through this long right-hander towards the gooseneck. We almost go over his nose again. There's a little bit of contact up to 4th, but he has managed to get the place done into gooseneck. Through Mansfield then, we're going to get a decent run out of gooseneck. Can we have a look down the inside? No, we are not close enough. And you can see up there, 2 cars have gone off. They've had mechanical issues. So Martin Wright off over the gravel. He's going to rejoin behind us, and Lachlan Homer is going to be behind the marshal post. He's retired. So that means now we are into P8, but we have the opportunity to try and fight forwards as Ben Ward goes a little bit wide through the mountain section. That's going to compromise his run. Can we have a look down the inside into the forest? No, not quite. He's going to cover it off, and it's going to have to be another lap. So not the best start then, P8 to P8, but our race is not at all over. It's time to fight forwards. But straight away then into Charlie 2, Ben Ward does the exact same thing that I did in race 2, just a little bit wide, clips that curb and has a huge slide. So it means that we're going to catch up a lot down this straight in the draft as well, heading down towards turn 4. Can we look at a move? He moves already to the middle of the circuit. We're going to have a look just to put the pressure onto the brakes, back over to the left. We get a much better run through the corner. He has another slide, kicking the rear out. We're going to get an incredible run on him through this very long right hand corner, sneak it down the inside towards gooseneck. We pull up to 4th. We're side by side, and we're able to outbrake him into gooseneck, and that is the move done. Once again, like the move on Zane, we're going to have to cover off the brakes into Mansfield, but we've already pulled a decent amount of gap, and that is up into P7. But just 1 lap later into turn 4, Ben Ward's misjudged it on the braking, pulled to the inside. We've got a bit of a hit from behind. We've managed to get full lock right back on the power, kept the foot in and held it on the track, kept the position as well. But this, as you can imagine, was pretty frustrating. We lost quite a lot of time to the cars in front, and more importantly, it's allowed Martin Wright to catch up right into our mirror. He's already tried to send it around the outside into Mansfield, but gone a little bit wide. But this is our chance now. He's getting held up by Ben to try and again pull a gap. So let's see what we can do over the next few laps to recover from that. By the way, I was now missing a tail light and a bit of my bumper, and my dad got this photo and I thought it was really cool. Anyway, back to the race. So that small incident has allowed Martin Wright to catch up behind. Immediately we're going to have to go defensive into the mountain complex. He is very good at making us go just slightly tighter on the inside than we need to. But up the hill, is he going to level with us into the forest section? No, not quite. We can fight on for another lap. Straight away then out of Charlie 2, he is right back on us in the draft. He's going to take us to the inside. We're going to go to the inside as well. Over, all the way to the right, late on the brakes, down to 3rd, trail it in. He'll get a better run out of the corner. He braked earlier, but we're going to use our better run to take it in on the exit and cover him off. And once again, but straight away again then out of the gooseneck, he gets a much better run. He's going to take it to the inside, down towards Mansfield. He'll duck back down to the outside. He'll try and do the switchback. We try and cover it off, but we're not quite quick enough. Now trying to squeeze it over to the left to minimize how much space he has. A little bit of contact between us. The mirror comes off. We actually pop out of gear, and he manages to get that position. But there's nothing to say we can't tack onto the back of him and try and catch up to some of the guys in front. And this was where I set my fastest laps of the session, but unfortunately with 3 minutes to go, we just didn't have the time, and we came across the line in P8 exactly where we started. So after a slightly lackluster first 2 races, we were were really ready for race 3. And not just that, but it was going to be wet. This race was a bit of a crazy culmination of loads of things. My first time driving in the wet, my last race at Cadwell, and my last opportunity to put a really good finish in. Not only this, but it was the second to last race on the final day of the weekend at a very physically and mentally demanding circuit. Looking back now and seeing over the footage, it's clear that this could only end badly. It seemed so stressful, in fact, that even our safety car broke down. And eventually they had to scramble the amazing Hyundai. Now instead of having that terrible, horrible Hyundai to get the race underway. Jokes aside, these conditions give us an incredible opportunity to try and capitalise on people's mistakes and come back from P9 on the grid and try and get a really good finish in for our last race of the weekend. But it very nearly caught me out before we even got to the grid. So this actually shows how bad the conditions really are. Coming out of the assembly area on cold tyres, we expected it just to be like qualifying. The foot goes down, we go over the curb, and we have a massive slide containing it over the grass. The car flicks one way and then the other, but we managed to hold it through this very, very tight section of track. But even on the way to the grid, that could have been very, very costly. So after that, it was 2 laps of very sheepishly warming the tyres up, and then we formed up on the grid. So here we go then for the final race here at Cadwell. The revs rise, it's eyes to the lights. The handbrake goes down, and finally we get a really, really good start. Trying to follow Ollie Smith in front, we immediately get past Ralphie on our right. We're gaining on the cars in front. Even Ollie, you can see he pulls over to the right now to form that single file line in front of Zane as we head round the first corner. We don't quite know where the dry line's going to be. All we know is it is flat, and then into Charlie 2. I'm offline. I get a massive slide. I was really, really lucky not to absolutely pin it into a wall there. So that was an incredible save for the second corner of the race. But what it does mean is we've ruined our run all the way down this straight now, so they've managed to pull a pretty big gap on us. But we are going to spend the next few laps in these changeable conditions trying to catch up to that pack in front and see what we can capitalise on. And we spent the next few laps gradually reeling in those cars in front. The gap did fluctuate quite a bit as it does in the wet, lap after lap working out the wet line, and not at all short of some hairy moments. But that slide early on really put some distance in between me and the pack. But in hindsight, that could have actually been a good thing, as going into turn 4 on about lap 5, both me and Lachlan have huge lockups. Luckily, I'm able to keep it on the track, but the wet grass is like ice here, and it means that he skates all the way off and into the wall. Luckily, he was okay, but unfortunately not able to rejoin. So we spent the next few laps again reeling in the pack in front when they eventually called a red flag for Lachlan's incident. And this is where this race got even crazier.
Surprised it's the stewards wanting to let these guys race for the final 5 minutes and give them something, but it's going to be an absolute, it's going to bring everyone back together again, and yeah, the variability of a start. So let's keep an eye out whether they are going to restart, but that would be my guess at this point.
Not only was it now 5:30 at the end of a very physical race weekend in the pouring rain at Cadwell Park, but we were now going off a red flag restart. And to add to that, communication issues meant that only 2 drivers on the grid knew that we were going off a safety car restart instead of forming up back in our grid slots. So what that means is we all come into the penultimate corner doing safety car speed. We get around it and the leader is gone. Still doing safety car speed, then we come around the final corner, realise what's happened, and collectively all of us get around the last corner, see the person in front is gone, panic and pin it. You can see how much the field spreads out in just that corner. So flying through the first corner then, what can we do to try and catch up to Zane? But through Charlie 1, Matthew Swatton, who was running in third, had an absolutely massive off. Luckily he was out of the car almost straight away, but this is never something you want to see. And that of course meant the end of the race. Thank goodness, you know, Matthew Swatton's out of the car. Yeah. That's really good. I really hope he's all right. Well, it shows the safety of these cars as well. It does, if you think about, you know, we're doing up to 105 mile an hour. The safety of these cars, the fact that, I don't know if you've seen it on the stream, but Matthew Swatton had quite a big crash. To be able to walk out of that shows, it is a testament to everything this championship's done. So I'm really happy in that sense, but it always shakes you up a little bit when you see something like that. So then, Cadwell Park, not quite the way we wanted to end it, but this has been an incredible weekend. I genuinely think not only the hardest I've worked, but the most I've ever learned from a race weekend since my first ever one at Brands Hatch. I've progressed so much this weekend, mentally and in my driving, and the only problem is it's just not been reflected in the results. But I'm I'm coming into Croft as a very different driver than I was a month ago, and that makes me very excited for this weekend. So on that note, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. A special thanks to all of these people for their ongoing support, and I'll see you in the next one.